How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Roller Coaster History Podcast. You are listening to Airtime Traveler. My name is Nathan Grace, and as always, I'm joined by my wife and lovely co-host.
Hey, I'm Haley Grace.
And thank you for tuning in to this trip report. It's the first one in a while.
It is true.
I think the last ones we did were our Busch Gardens ones back in October, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's been one of those weird years where we just really haven't been able to go to many parks, unfortunately, with
finances,
lots of financial
struggles,
all
the things.
Lots of money going into other avenues, unfortunately. So,
yeah.
Yep. But that's okay. That's how life goes sometimes, right?
It's true. It's true.
So, and ultimately, the goal is get to more parks in the future.
Yeah.
But
we've talked about and it's hard too with the kids, taking the kids to a park.
That is the other thing. That's
we've
really
actually talked about if it's possible to hire a nanny just for going to amusement parks.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, once the kids get a little bit older, I don't know, it's just tough because if it's just the four of us, then any coaster we do, we're gonna have to do parent swap, and it's typically trying to go when it's warmer out, and so kids get upset when they get hot or thirsty, and I'm trying to take pictures and get all the credits in, but also trying not to just be have Haley watch the kids the whole time. I'm
the nanny.
It's tough. So, I mean, when we went to, the last time the four of us went to a park was when we went to SeaWorld last May. And that was a tough day. It was really hot that day.
So hot.
So both of the kids were really just not having it. So
I mean, they were, but the only thing they wanted to do was stay in Sesame Street.
Oh, that was the Harmony was young enough that she didn't really, I don't know, I don't even know if she was crawling yet, but she was still a baby at that point. But Parker, yeah, the only thing that was entertaining him was being in Sesame Street Land. So
yeah.
But yeah, so that
kept begging. I want the bag. I want to see Elmo.
Well, and that's what. Yeah, between that and it was really hot that day.
Yeah.
So Haley, I think, only rode 2 coasters that day.
Yeah, something like that.
I think you rode Mako and Pipeline.
Yep.
That's it. It was tough, and so I think after that day, we've just kind of been hesitant to go back to the parks.
And we fully intended on going to Six Flags together. But when we went to Pennsylvania, we just said, okay, well, we're gonna keep an eye on the weather and decide when we get there what day we want to go, because you don't have to buy your ticket until basically the day of.
It's true.
And so we said, okay, let's just go, let's just see what the weather looks like. And we got to Pennsylvania and the weather just on the weather apps looked awful.
It was so
bad.
40 to 60% chance of rain
every single day. And so we're well, this isn't gonna work. And so after Nathan and I just talking over and over again, oh gosh, you got the point yawning.
Both of us yawning.
I said we just kind of came to the decision that Nathan really, really wanted to go since it was closing, and I just was I don't want to have the kids be miserable, with if it rains or whatever. And so said, you know what, you just go. I'll enjoy my family, and you just go. And it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Even though you said it was hot, super hot.
Yeah, it worked out for the best, I think, because I don't think you and the kids would have been just miserable in the sun. It was the hottest day I've ever spent in an amusement park.
No, thank you. And see, I have no desire for that.
Yeah.
Unless it's Disney World, but that's a special occasion.
Yeah, it was interesting. So, we're talking Six Flags America today, which strangely enough, is the first Six Flags park I've been to since I was like 10 years old.
I've just been to so many other different ones.
We focused, like when I first started getting into this hobby, we decided to focus on Cedar Fair because we knew I'd be going out to California where Knott's Berry Farm is. Well, yeah, they had the pass, and we knew I'd be going out close to Knott's Berry Farm, and Cedar Point was like my number one bucket list park.
Right.
And so between the two of those, it just made sense. And then, we figured out Kings Island, Kings Dominion, and Carowinds along the way. And then the year after that, just decided to hit up the Hershend Park since we're close to Silver Dollar City. So we did Dollywood that year and Kentucky Kingdom that year. And then I also tagged on Holiday World because we have family in the area that made it easy to do Holiday World. And then last year was we just decided to do the Busch Gardens and SeaWorld parks because we were going to be down in Florida anyway.
Yeah.
So like the timing, it's not that we're trying to avoid the Six Flags parks, which may have, if you've been listening to the podcast from the beginning, you're probably like, they haven't done a single Six Flags coaster. Yeah. It's not because we dislike Six Flags or are trying to avoid it. It's just the timing just hasn't worked out to go to any of them, and so
it's true. And like I really want to go to those Six Flag parks.
There's gonna be
we like really want to go to.
There's gonna be more coming because I've already decided that if I can only go to one park next year, it's gonna be Six Flags over Texas for their new dive coaster that's gonna be opening next summer. So
like we want to go opening day.
Yes, if not, we'll try to get invited to Media Day. We'll see.
Come on, Six Flags. We want to go so bad.
We'll try. But
we're media. We're history media, but we're media. So
there'll be more Six Flags coming in the future. But just the timing of everything, this was the first Six Flags park I've done since, like I said, when I was 10, we went to Six Flags New England because we had family that lived in the Boston area. But that was.
And I've been to Six Flags.
And you've been to Six Flags over Georgia when you were in high school, if I remember correctly. So we have a little bit of Six Flags experience, but not.
Don't remember like anything from that trip, but I was there.
Yeah. Well, when I went to Six Flags New England, I think I've actually been. Have I been twice? I actually don't know if I've been once or twice. I think just once, but that was before I had gotten into coasters. I was still terrified of them. And so I the only roller coaster I rode that day was I think it's now themed to Catwoman, but at the time it was themed to Poison Ivy. And it's just like a little family coaster that they have there. That was the only coaster I did that day. So no Vekoma, there's a Vekoma Boomerang there. And at the time it was, the Cyclone wooden coaster, and their big one that they have a big Superman coaster there that I obviously didn't do, but it's still interesting though, because looking back on that trip, because I have a few memories from then. I was old enough that I can still remember it, and I still remember just like sitting there and watching the Superman coaster and just being fascinated by it, even though I was too terrified to actually go on it. So
sounds like you.
It really was. Like, I've always been interested in coasters, even though I was terrified of them until I was 17. So, but anyway, or 16, I think 16. Anyway, so that's all to say. This was my first real experience at a Six Flags park.
True. And
definitely an interesting place to start because this is the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak, in the Six Flags chain.
Sad, but
yeah, and
but you did. You went.
I did make it. Yeah, we did make it work. So eventually, there was one day that the weather kind of cleared up, and so we just decided I was going to go down by myself. It's about 4-hour drive. So, being the crazy enthusiast I am, I drove. Woke up at 6 a.m. and drove 4 hours down to DC so that I was there when the park opened at 11. And then I didn't stay the whole time. I stayed until probably like an hour before closing because I easily got everything in. We'll get to that in a minute. But and then I drove 4 hours back and got home like around 11 o'clock that night. So
crazy.
But hey, saved us a couple $100 and not having to get a hotel and all that.
No ticket prices because I didn't go.
Yeah, so made it work.
Yeah.
But and there was other reasons too that I was kind of hesitant to go because So the obviously I wanted to go because the park's it's still up in the air whether the park will reopen again or not.
Right.
What we do know is that Six Flags is selling the park. Now, whether they sell it to somebody that says, "Hey, let's, refresh it and refurbish it and open it again," or if they just sell it to somebody that just
Like the
levels
highest bidder, yeah.
just levels it and starts building subdivisions, like we
Right.
really don't know.
Yeah, there's like
So
no.
it's there's still potential that the park will not close permanently. That's still up in the air, but it will not be a Six Flags park after this year. That's what we do know. So,
Mm.
and the potential is there that it will never open again. So that's why a lot of enthusiasts that haven't been there are trying to get there this year, is trying to get those credits because, truth be told, I'm not expecting any of the coasters to get relocated. Now,
So sad.
some of them could.
Yeah.
I mean, Joker's Jinx and Rite of Steel definitely are good enough that they could do well at another park. Some of the others are not good enough to get, like, they're just kind of old and rough or whatever. It would take a lot of refurbishment to make it worth it. And then the old wooden coaster, like, that's just so much work to relocate it. But anyway, so I wanted to go obviously because the park's closing, but also they have some really interesting coasters there, like some really
you mentioned that
some really unique coasters that have some fascinating history behind them. And so just from a, roller coaster historian perspective, like I wanted to be able to, check some of those off the list. And in the days leading up to the trip, Batwing's lead car derailed. So not the car that like people ride on.
Why?
So
That's crazy.
It's not the car that people are on, because like some coasters have like a car on the front that's like just for aesthetic purposes, but there's no actual riders on it.
Right.
That's the part that derailed.
Oh,
so that happened like a week before we left.
Jeez.
And then Wild One went down 2 days before the trip. And I never like really heard any reason why that one went down. And so, and that was 2 of the 3 coasters I was going there for, really. Now, to be fair, Rite of Steel is the best coaster there, and that was open. But from a historical standpoint,
right,
2 of the 3 historic coasters I wanted to go for were closed. And so it's like,
come on.
It's just really frustrating.
Yeah.
I posted about this, if you follow us on socials, you'd probably saw this, but I posted about the fact that this is the 3rd time I've tried to get on one of the Vekoma Flying Dutchman coasters, and all 3 times they've been closed.
It's really depressing.
I'm like, it just was not meant to be for me to get one of those. And this is the last one in existence, so if it doesn't reopen, then they're gone forever.
Maybe we can pray. Let's pray that it opens again.
It's funny because some people in my comments were like, "Oh, that's so sad. I'm sad that and other people were like, "Man, those things suck. You're the lucky one that didn't have to write it." I'm like, "Wow, okay." It's a wide spectrum here. So, but Wild One was probably the one that hurt more because it is currently the oldest operating coaster in North America. Because the oldest coaster is Leap the Dips at Lakemont Park, but it's not operational right now. The park isn't making enough money to keep the coaster open, basically, and so Wild One was the next oldest. So
it's like so heartbreaking to like hear that there's these amazing historical pieces of equipment and like
I don't know, they're in place. That's the thing, is like they're in places that aren't making enough money and it's a weird catch-22 because like usually when a park is making a lot of money and doing really well, they tend to take out old rides and put in new ones because they have the money to invest into it.
Right.
Now, parks like Kennywood are the exception to that, where they basically thrive off of keeping their old attractions up and running, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's been Kennywood's whole shtick, along with adding new things every now and then. But
done like a mix of both.
Exactly. So that's why Kennywood still has 3 of the oldest wooden coasters in the country, because they've made that effort. But some of these other parks, like
Pittsburgh loves their history.
Yes,
You're a very proud people.
But places like Lakemont Park and Six Flags America, they haven't had enough success. The reason they have the old coasters is because they really haven't made enough money to even consider building a new one. So it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a weird catch-22 thing there. But anyway, so that's what was going on before I left. And finally, I posted about it, and people convinced me just go, get whatever credits you can. Don't go in with any expectations. Just get what you can, document the park, and then what you get, right? So it was definitely a different mindset of like, I'm not going here to experience the hype or get on all these coasters that people are praising. It was really just to kind of witness a dying park.
Just say, I got
to do it. Yeah, it's like get whatever credits I can. And so kind of almost viewed it as more a historical documentation rather than like, getting all these credits that people, are hyping up. So,
right.
Anyway. So, that being said, talk a little bit about my trip and my experience there. So, first impressions, for the absolute first impression I had is when I pulled up to the parking booth and they charged $35 for parking.
What?
Which is how much I paid to get for my entrance ticket.
Insane.
I paid $70 to get into the park, and half of it was parking.
Parked elsewhere and walked to the park.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
I know that Six Flags has really high parking fees.
But for like a park,
but I was like, if they're charging $35 for admission, then certainly parking must be like $15, $20.
You would think.
No, $35 for parking, $35 for admission.
You did not tell me
Unreal.
That's insanity.
That's crazy. Unreal. So that was my very first impression. I was like, good heavens. $35 for parking.
That's crazy.
Well, the other thing is, so this happened today, so coaster enthusiasts, you'll know when we're recording this, but today Six Flags announced their season passes for next year, and it's $79 for everything.
What?
For a platinum like for a pass to get into all the parks, $79.
I know what you're getting for Christmas.
Well, they're having a sale right now, so it might be a little bit more around that time of year, but
I know what you're getting for Christmas.
But and it's free parking too. So I'm
I know what you're getting for Christmas.
Well, I'm like, I paid $70 to get into Six Flags America for one day at one park, and now the pass to get into all of them with free parking is $9 more.
No sense.
What in the world?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
No sense.
So very strange. So then I park, and I don't think I've ever seen a parking lot at an amusement park with so few cars. Like there was still a lot of people at the entrance, most because there were some buses there for like some field trips for high schoolers and stuff like that. But could you imagine being like, guess where we get to go today? Six Flags.
Well,
to be fair, if you've never been to another amusement park before, I mean, it's probably just a good time for anybody that this is the only park they've been to. So
I guess that's true.
So it's all about perspective, I think. So, but and honestly, when you were a high schooler, would you really have cared that much? You're just there
out of school, man.
You're just out of school having fun with your friends. Who cares where you go?
Nowhere. You could take me to a ditch and I'd be happy.
So, but yeah, it really felt like I'll find a picture that I took, because I was just like, I took a couple pictures because there was points where I just looked around. I'm like, where is everybody? Where is it? Here. So this is when I first got into the park.
So dead.
Literally nobody. I was walking to the back of the park, so some people, stopped at things as I passed them by, but like just straight up nobody.
That's crazy.
And then this one was at the end of the day, which there's still a few people in this picture, but I mean, still, like, just look how dead that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's like two families in this picture, and that's it. And it's like looking at a whole section of the park. Like,
it looks like a Ghost town.
That's, you can see my notes here. That's literally what I have written down.
It
Is that it
really
felt like a ghost
does.
town
That's
at times.
really
It was
weird.
very strange. Now,
Like, were all the shops open even too? And
not everything. There were there were some things that were open, and then like there's definitely like I'll get into it in a second, but there's definitely like they're already kind of making the efforts to like get things closed and things like that. So
right, well, because you got all your merch for like really good prices.
oh yeah, I got buy one get one free for a hat and a t-shirt combo.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, they're just giving stuff away right now. It's crazy. But anyway, so that as far as crowd levels, it was strange because there weren't a lot of people there. Now, there's a water park there. I didn't do that, so maybe there was, because it was so hot that day,
yeah.
there may have been a decent amount of people over
Yeah.
there. Who knows? But that's not really my thing, so I kind of just stayed over at the dry side of the park. But
Even when we went to the park at Idlewild, over like when we were with my parents, like you didn't do much.
I mean, once everybody else was once I got my credit in. To be fair,
That's true.
You guys went to the water park, and I went and got my coaster credit, and then when I was done, I came and joined you guys in the water park.
We didn't do a trip report because there was literally only one credit.
That is true. It's the tag on our Idlewild trip report because they just reopened their Wild Mouse coaster this year, and so I didn't get that credit last year, but I did get it a few weeks ago when we were there. And it was funny because the last park we went to was not Busch Gardens. It was Idlewild because we went there in I don't remember when it would have been October. Yeah. It was that same trip actually. It was just we did Busch Gardens on the front end of that trip, and then Idlewild was on the back end.
Yep.
And we went to Malibu there for the kids, and
it was cute.
Yeah, and Wild Mouse was closed, but Rolo Coaster was open, so I got that credit. And then the next credit I got was still Wild Mouse, but it was 9 months later, which is just very strange. So, anyway, so
there you go. There's your
little Idlewild.
That's our trip report.
So, trip report within a trip report, but. So the atmosphere of the park. So the front of the park is definitely like. Very like colonial America type of feel. I think you probably saw the pictures of the entrance because I think I sent that in the family group chat or whatever. It
looks like the same building from Disney World in the Epcot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Building.
Well, I think because both of them are definitely in that colonial style architecture. I think it definitely has that same feel. That one's built, it looks very similar for sure. So, but so the whole front. After you walk in through the entrance, they have a Main Street kind of area, and they call it Main Street 1776. And so it's like all colonial buildings, and they're playing like colonial, like old music, trumpets and snare drums and all that. And so it's very like I was like, okay, this is kind of cute, like a little.
Like good theming,
well, kind of like the America Pavilion at Epcot, just kind of that, but a little bit, more in depth because there's an actual, a few shops and stuff. There's a couple things that kind of pull you out of that because one of the gift shops is a giant DC gift shop with like DC and Looney Tunes stuff and all that.
Yeah, that definitely would pull me out.
And then on the other side, there's a big building that has it's where you get your Fast Pass. And they call it, for the Six Flags parks, it's called the Flash Pass. And so it's got a big Flash logo up on the front of the building. I'm like, oh. So.
See, I disagree with that. I feel like that's kind of like distasteful. Yeah. I feel like they could have totally put it on theme, even though it would have been the same things in the shop or, same agenda, but it could have been themed to the colonial.
Something tells me, this is my first time at Six Flags Park, so I can't say this for certain, but my gut tells me that's going to be a common theme at a lot of the Six Flags parks, where like the DC theming takes priority over everything else. So I don't know. We'll see if that turns out to be true.
Funding, but so
yes, for sure.
Would make sense.
So that's kind of a lot of their marketing hinges on that, and so I think they try to make an effort. So So then the other sections of the park, there's a Gotham City section of the park, which is kind of where most of the DC stuff lives. The theming is fine. It's just like, it kind of feels like amusement park and then the rides have DC names. Like there's the buildings and the architecture don't really give me a DC vibe. I know there are other parks in the chain that do it a lot better. But this park, it just kind of felt like an afterthought. It was just kind of like, this is where the DC stuff will go. Just just kind of slap Superman on that one and Joker on that one and Wonder Woman on that one and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But other than that, not doing a whole lot to really theme the rides or the buildings or anything like that. So and then there's a Mardi Gras area. Which is very, very odd. Like, it just kind of...
That's an odd theme for an amusement park.
So, because I'm sitting there and I'm like... Main Street 70, so you got like Colonial America, you have DC, Mardi Gras, and then there's like a steampunk area. Those are like the 4 areas.
Those are so random.
They were very random. Definitely the odd one out there is the Mardi Gras, because I'm like, I mean, that makes a little bit more sense for, I mean, clearly the obvious answer is that would make sense at a park in Louisiana.
Right.
But even so, like, even like a Florida or a Texas, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if maybe their thought was like, we're trying to celebrate all the different parts of America. But in order to do that, you have to have you gotta have like a West, like a California themed section, like a Surfing USA section, and then like a Wild West section, which I do think they had at one point, but I don't know. It's just the Mardi Gras thing felt very out of place for a park in Washington D.C. I'm like, I don't know why Mardi Gras was one of the choices, but
yeah.
Anyway,
that's a little weird.
And then their most recent area, which you can see is the kind of the thing that they're advertising front and center, is Steamtown, which is actually like not too bad of a theming. Like the Main Street 1776 was my favorite atmosphere in the park, just like the colonial theming and the music. Oh, that's the other thing. Talking about music reminded me. In the DC section and the Mardi Gras section, they're just kind of playing like generic pop music, just like today's hits type of thing. But like Steamtown actually had its own soundtrack of like very cool mechanical style music, and so
that's cool.
That to me is very important in building a like themed section of a park, is like actual music that kind of immerses you in that theme. So
I can agree with that.
Yeah, so Steamtown, I did like it. The only thing I had a problem with the atmosphere of Steamtown was, it was very clear to me, and I haven't checked this for sure, but I'm almost positive that it used to be a Wild West theme section, and then they've just kind of turned it into a steampunk section. And the number one thing that tipped that off to me is one of the buildings is like an Alamo style building, like the kind of like that. I don't know what it's not stucco, but. You know what I'm talking about. Like, you picture the Alamo, that kind of style of architecture. They had a restaurant there that had that style, and then just had like some steampunk stuff slapped onto it. I'm like, that is not really steampunk.
Yeah.
So I do think it used to be Wild West, and then they just kind of added some things to try to make it more steampunk style. So, but still more cohesive than the Mardi Gras in the Gotham City area. So. Now, kind of along with the atmosphere, the park is definitely, and I mentioned this earlier, is kind of in disrepair is the best way I can put it.
Okay.
So, I didn't tell you this because I wanted your genuine reaction when I told this story on the podcast. It's nothing bad or dangerous happened. It's just funny.
Okay.
So, I walk into the park and I walk into this Main Street section, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice. And so I'm like, I can tell it's not busy today, so I'm not like in a rush to go, get in line somewhere. I'm like, I think I can take my time. There's not a lot of people here, right?
Right.
So I decided, why don't I just check out the gift shops while I'm here, so I know what I'm gonna get before I leave the park. And so I go in the DC one, and I'm like, whoa, like there's all this. I'm like, I'm not really here for that. So I go to the other side, which is where they just have like their generic like Six Flags stuff. And I'm walking around, and I get to the back right corner, and there's like water on the floor, and I'm like, what is happening? I like look up to see if there's like a leak in the ceiling or something, and I don't see anything. And so I'm like stepping on the floor, and there's water coming up through the floor. I don't know if there was like something spilled and like they just hadn't cleaned it up yet, or like if there was like a leak coming through the floor. I have no idea. So
what?
So then I keep walking, and
there's more to the story.
There's more to the story.
Okay.
So then I walk around to the other corner of the store, and there's like something on the floor, and I look closer, and it's like this big rectangle thing. I'm like, what is that? And I look up. One of the ceiling panels had fallen and landed on the ground and was just sitting there.
Bob, can you come pick this up? And
and so then I look up, and that's what I see. I'm like, oh, that's the ceiling panel.
So random.
And I'm like, so they didn't like do a walkthrough of the store to make sure it was clean before they opened it? There's a ceiling panel laying in the middle of the floor. That's crazy. So that's my first experience at the, like, within 10 minutes of me walking into the park, this is what I see. So I'm like, oh boy.
This is going to be a good time. Good time right here.
I will say, I went back later in the day, and they had mopped up the water. There was still a little bit seeping through the floor, but they had mopped it up at least. And the and the ceiling panel was gone. I don't know where they,
was the ceiling fixed?
The ceiling wasn't fixed, but they probably wouldn't have been able to do that. It was pretty tall ceiling, so they probably had to get a big ladder out to do that. So, but at least it wasn't laying in the middle of the floor now.
I guess so, but still.
Maybe someone stole it. Like I got a piece of memorabilia from Six Flags.
It was free.
Didn't have a price tag on it. Yeah, so that was very, very strange.
Yeah,
like,
I bet. That's
I'm like, this is already very weird. So, and I mean, some of the restrooms I went in, I was just like, man, they really just don't care anymore, do they?
So
and
sad.
there was one restroom at the back of the park that was just completely closed, like they had just like chained it off, and I'm like, man. And there was a whole section of the park that had been chained off too, like. So I don't.
It's just so crazy to me. Like they wouldn't like do more of a celebration.
So that's a good point. So somebody that I follow on, I've met him before, and I think. I know his first name is Paul. I think Drabeck is how you say his last name. He's the you've met him. He's the guy over the volunteer that helps with our region of the American Coaster Enthusiasts. Yep. And so we've met him at a few Coaster Enthusiast events, but he also has a lot of followers on social media. And so he went to the park that Saturday, and so he and I have been talking about what rides were open and different things, so that he was kind of prepared for his trip.
Right.
And he made after he had left for the day, he made a post talking about like how it's just kind of sad that rather than having this big celebration of like our last hurrah and like, everybody come see the park one more time and, have like these,
memories to live off.
Yeah, it was more just like, just kind of the way the phrase he used, which is 100% accurate, is just limping across the finish line. Like that's really what it is. It's just like they're just kind of faking it till they make it, and just
it's so wrong.
Just like driving with a flat tire. Just like we'll get there.
We got it.
We're not stopping now. Like yeah, so. Anyway, so and that showed in the operations of the park too. By far the worst operations I've ever seen in a park.
I remember you telling me that.
And I had heard that from some people too. And the thing is like if you're just there like as a GP or whatever, you probably don't notice it. But because I pay attention to things like that, And also, I'll get into a funny story in a minute that definitely showed me how bad the operations were. But um, one train operations on every single roller coaster, every single one. Now, to their credit, the crowds weren't bad enough that they really warranted needing more than one train.
Right.
But I've just never seen that before. I've never seen a park operating one train on every single roller coaster. It was pretty unusual.
Right.
And then the dispatches were, anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes sometimes. Like, it just was like so slow. And the reason I know that is so here's my funny story that kind of showcase this, and this would only happen to me because this is me and I do ridiculous things to take pictures of roller coasters, as we've talked about on the show, like going out into the picnic pavilion at Holiday World to get better shots of the Raven, and
you have missed your calling being
climbing up the water slide stairs to to get a better angle, and like
going through the exit and letting
hundreds
of people pass you just to get the right shot. Yeah,
pulling to the side in the queue so I can get a shot and telling people, go ahead. I'll
You say you're not an extrovert.
I just try not to be rude. So, but so at one point, I went back to where Ride of Steel and Joker's Jinx were at the back of the park. And I got some shots of Ride of Steel. And then as I turned around, I was in the exit pathway for Ride of Steel. And as I turned around, I noticed that Joker's Jinx, you can kind of see it coming up through its Cobra roll above the gift shop to Ride of Steel. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I kind of like set up in a spot where I like had a good angle. And then I just kind of had to sit there and wait for a train to come. And I could barely, so Joker's Jinx is a launch coaster, so I could just barely hear when it would like go through its launch cycle, and the Cobra roll is right at the beginning, and so like if I didn't have my camera ready to go by the time I heard the launch, it would have been too late. So I'm kind of just sitting there with my camera just waiting, and I sat there, for no joke, I sat there for 10 minutes waiting for a train, and I'm like, it's 95 degrees outside, and I'm just dying in the sun. And I'm like, it must have gone down for, whatever. And so I start walking back towards the front of the park. And literally, like, as I'm walking by Joker's Jinx, they launch a train and it goes through. And there's nobody on it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So they've fixed whatever problem it was. So I turn around and I walk back over to my spot and I get, camera and I get all set up again. 7 minutes goes by, and I'm like, okay, I guess something was still wrong. And so I started walking back, and again, as I'm walking past Joker's Jinx, they send another train, this time with people on it. So I'm like, what took them so long to load the train of people? So I walk back to my spot, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait another 5 minutes, and if they don't launch the train, then the picture just wasn't meant to be. And after like 3 minutes, they finally launched a train, and I finally got the shot I wanted. But man, and I don't even know if the shot was worth it. You can tell me, because I literally spent a half hour in one spot to get that shot right there.
That's kind of cool.
Okay, so it is a cool picture. So, but it was just funny how long I waited for that stupid picture. So that just shows like the operations. It was just like, it made it hard to take pictures, because the same thing happened at Firebird, where I sat there for like 10 minutes and I'm like, I guess it's closed. And then I walk away
and then
the trains went, and I'm like, okay, I'll get a picture later or whatever. So that happened multiple times where I'm just like sitting there just waiting for a train because it just takes so long. It's not a problem you have at the bigger parks, because they're just like pumping those trains out, and so there's always trains to take pictures of. But yeah, definitely was a problem here. So I don't have a whole lot to talk about food, mostly because like my stomach wasn't 100% on the way down, and so I was just trying to eat like pretty light stuff while I was at the park, and so I think the only thing I had was just like basic.
Talked about food.
Yeah, it's just basic chicken tenders and fries. So yeah, I mean, there wasn't anything that really like caught my attention as far as food wasn't concerned. So I mean, they had like a Johnny Rockets and you know, some of the, you know, just kind of generics, Six Flags stuff. The Chinese restaurant that was called Chopsticks. So
That's so your kind of restaurant. You're in your punny
yep.
sayings. Again, you missed your calling with
Yeah, I could have been a
things.
marketer, so.
You're silly.
Let's see, where's that? I was trying to see if restaurants and dining. Yeah, see, like, oh, there you go, Chopsticks. See, again, look, it's Chopsticks, location Old Boston. Like, the the cohesion and the theming is just not quite there. I don't know. Well, Gotham City Dippin' Dots. Yeah. Just kind of, oh my gosh, there's a lot of Dippin' Dots. Holy. There's like 6 Dippin' Dots stands.
Yummy.
It's like half of the restaurants. Anyway, so not really a whole lot to talk about in the food department. So, with that said, I guess we can just talk about the coasters. So, there are 9 coasters at the park. And with everything that happened, I rode 5 of them. So, again, it's just kind of one of those things. It's like, you know, just
take what you can
take
get.
exactly,
you know?
take what you can get. So, the ones I didn't get on, Batwing did not open, obviously, and still has not opened. Rumor has it might be done.
That's a sad way to be done.
Yeah, it just derailed randomly one day, and that's just goes out with a whimper. So, and then Wild One did not open. You want to hear the worst part about that one?
Yes. Sorry.
You're fine.
Yawning.
It opened the next day.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Yep. It was closed Wednesday, or it was closed half of Tuesday, and then it was closed Wednesday and Thursday. I was there on Thursday, and then it reopened on Friday, and it's been open ever since.
Nice.
It seems like every time we go to a park now, this happens. I mean, with Wildcats Revenge, and like it just
we're just bad
we
luck.
had such terrible luck with getting some of these credits. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm not going back, so is what it is. And then
you could, it just would be a lot of money and time
not
and
worth it. So. And then I didn't ride Great Chase because that's it's the same size as Grand Exposition Coaster. It's just a little one. But then the surprise of the day was Roar. Their GCI coaster also did not open that day.
Oh, weird.
And no explanation there. It's open now. Like there just was a sign out front that says not open. So it's like they have 8 major, coasters, and 3 of the 8 were closed the day that I was there. It's just crazy. And so, and you're still charging full admission and $35 in parking and all that for, nearly almost, one more coaster closes, you're talking half of your coasters are closed.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild. Can you imagine if you went to, Silver Dollar City and 3 of their roller coasters were closed all day?
Nope.
That's unbelievable. So, I mean, I guess you get what you pay for, because Silver Dollar City costs like 2.5 times as much as this does. Well,
right.
With the free parking, never mind. It's about the same. So,
I think that, it's just factored into the cost for that.
Yes.
And
yes.
I
absolutely
completely agree with that. I think
like people see
all the parks need to do that.
Like, so what is Silver Dollar City's ticket price this year? It's probably 70 or 80 something.
Yeah.
Tickets, park tickets. Okay, 92. So it's a little higher than I thought.
That one's buy one get one.
That is true. It's buy one day, get a day free. So that's 2 days for $92.
Right.
And that's a sale that they have going on right now. But
Right.
anyway, still, it's, you know, even if it was just $92 for one day compared to the $70 here, like, it's just so much more worth it. So anyway. And in parks all the parks that have free parking, I think that's just what they do. I mean, Holiday World, they have free parking and free drinks. They just factor that into the cost of the ticket.
Yeah.
And, you know, but it feels so much better to just go to the park, not, you know, having paid for the ticket already. And now you don't have to worry about the parking and
Yep.
all the nickel and diming that, you know, some of these other parks do. So anyway, what was I going with that? Oh, the coaster's closed. Yeah, 3 of the 8 that I could have potentially been on were closed, so that was a bummer. So yeah, I still not sure what happened with Roar, but is what it is. So let's talk about the ones I did get to ride at least.
Okay.
So Rage and Cajun, I won't talk about that one a whole lot. That's just a spinning wild mouse coaster. Same model as Primeval Whirl or Exterminator at Kennywood. So,
Got it.
So that's really all to say. It's
That's
they're a dime a dozen. They're there's a lot of them out there, and it was the same as all the other ones. So. And then there is Professor Screamore's Skywinder, which is such a mouthful of a name.
Oh my goodness.
So I think pretty much everyone just calls it Skywinder, which I think they would have been fine just calling it that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I agree.
yeah, look at the Professor Screamore Skywinder.
Dude, why? There's no need for that.
Now, what's funny is
Cut that off.
It was called Mind Eraser from 1995 to 2022, and then it was closed for 2.5 years, I think. And then it just reopened like in the middle of last year, and when they did that, they repainted it, gave it new trains and everything. So they put all this work into this coaster just for it to close a year later. So, which tells me this was a fairly recent decision that Six Flags made, because they were putting brand new trains on this coaster in June of 2024. And then by March of 2025, they're announcing that the park is closing. Yeah. So somewhere in that, 9 months is when that decision was made.
They knew it was going to close, and they decided to put money into it because they have a buyer already interested. But that was part of the deal. Just like a house.
That doesn't sound like
that
doesn't sound
us to sell it to you.
That doesn't sound like Six Flags though.
Just saying.
In theory, that makes.
I'm hopeful.
In theory, that makes sense.
I'm hopeful.
I don't trust Six Flags to have done that.
Come on.
So, now, what's funny about this one is, with as many parks as I've been to, somehow this was my very first Vekoma SLC. Which, how many of that? There's 42 of them. I don't know how many of them are still open.
How have you not been on one yet?
I know, it's crazy. So, I mean, there's a lot of them are at Six Flags parks, but I mean, and granted, a lot of these are overseas as well. But I mean, there's one at Michigan's Adventure, but I haven't been there. Morty's Piers, Elitch Gardens. There's one down at Magic Springs in Hot Springs, but we haven't been there. There was one at Kentucky Kingdom, but it had closed by the time I went to Kentucky Kingdom for the first time. So I've just like narrowly, missed them a bunch of times. And so this was the first time I got to ride one. Now, they have a horrible reputation. Horrible. They are considered one of, like, if there's like a meme coaster that like coaster enthusiasts use as a joke, then this is the coaster that they use. Like, a few months ago, it's actually related to this. I did a best case scenario thing where I was like, okay, if Six Flags were to relocate all 8 of the major coasters at Six Flags America, where would they go? Now, that's not going to happen, but if they were, where would I put them is essentially what my thing was. And I had chosen Skywinder to go to Darien Lake, Six Flags Darien Lake. For some reason, it completely escaped my mind that they already have this model at Six Flags Darien Lake. But a few of the comments were like, What did Darien Lake do to deserve 2 Vekoma SLCs? Like, why are you punishing us with this? Which is pretty funny. So, yeah, this coaster definitely has a poor reputation.
Has its quirks, yeah.
Now, I would still ride it again. I also understand first 2 things. One, the new trains that they got on this last year are the new Vekoma trains with the Vestra trains.
Ooh.
So no headbanging, which I think makes a big difference with this one versus some of the other ones that still have the old trains.
Lays back?
No, that's the one that was closed that I didn't get to do. That was Batwing. So this one, you can see, this one is basically, it's like I
watched a video of Batwing today of someone on TikTok that wrote it. So
this is basically Vekoma's version of like Great Bear or Banshee. Like it's their inverted coaster. SLC stands for Suspended Looping Coaster, I think. So, but they built most of them in the 90s, and so they just really haven't aged well. Not like the B&M ones have. So, and it was very bumpy, like definitely just like shaken all over the place. But fortunately, because
shaken, not stirred.
Yes. So, but fortunately, because of the best restraints, there wasn't headbanging. So,
that's
it wasn't
definitely what I would prefer, anyways.
So, and it's interesting because the layout is very strong. Like, there's some really fun inversions, really cool layout. It's just Vekoma didn't really hit their stride with coasters until the last 5 to 10 years. And so some of their earlier stuff is just very bumpy. And so I think if they recreated this now, it would be so much better. But anyway. Next is Firebird, which I talked to you about a little bit already. Firebird is interesting because it was one of the 3 like very historic coasters that I wanted to ride.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the one of the one out of the 3 that I did get to ride, fortunately. Yeah. So, and that's because it was the first ever coaster manufactured by B&M. Now, it was at Six Flags Great America in Chicago when that happened. And then it was relocated in 2012 to Six Flags America. And it was a stand-up coaster at the time, and all the way up until 2019, it was a stand-up coaster. And then they converted it to a floorless coaster, I guess 6 years ago. And so, yeah, so it's a very small coaster. In fact, you can almost see the whole coaster in this picture. It's like, whoa. Yeah, it's just very small because, it was their first coaster, so it's only 100.
It's vibrant. I love the colors on that.
Yeah, they repainted it when they did the Firebird retheming. So, but yeah, it's only 100 feet tall. Still goes 55 miles an hour, which is not too shabby, but only 2 inversions, just a loop and a corkscrew. It's very, very basic. Now, it has not aged well because it's probably the worst, not the worst headbanging I've ever had on a coaster, but definitely in my top 5. Like, it was very bumpy and still has those B&M over the shoulder restraints like Wildfire has. So definitely a one and done for me, but I obviously don't regret writing it because it was and it was more like I appreciate the historical significance of the ride more than the actual ride experience. That's really why I wrote it, was just to say that, I got to ride the first ever B&M coaster, which is cool. So we'll have to do an episode on Firebird at some point, just because it obviously has some historical significance. But yeah, that was cool.
That was cool.
So then the 2 standout coasters are definitely Joker's Jinx and Ride of Steel. Joker's Jinx is an outdoor clone of Flight of Fear at Kings Island and Kings Dominion. Which I said
before you went that I really liked Flight of Fear, so that
it's a good ride, yeah.
Interesting ride to try and ride that layout in the light.
Yeah,
it was. What's fun about that is it's in the dark. That's what makes it interesting.
It's so interesting because like these coasters that have the what they call the spaghetti bowl layouts typically are all indoors because it's just easier to make it compact, and then throwing it indoors makes it a very different experience. So
Right.
so this is my first time riding a coaster like that outdoors, and like getting to see like just how convoluted and like just how it's all tied up into like one giant mess and knot of track. So yeah, it was very fun. So I I think what I determined is the way I rank it is Flight of Fear at King's Dominion, and then this one, and then Flight of Fear at King's Island.
Oh.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Mostly because Flight of Fear at King's Island, if I don't think you rode that one with me because you were watching the kids and the line was like an hour long or something like that. So you did the one at King's Dominion with me, which is it's the same thing. The difference with the King's Island one, though, was that it comes to a stop at the mid-course breaks and then lets you go. You remember talking about that? This doesn't do that, and King's Dominion doesn't do that. So I think I just prefer both of those for that reason. So I'll give Flight of Fear at King's Dominion the edge just because I kind of like the indoor aspect. I think too. That it adds an element. So, but it was fun to kind of experience it in a different setting. So it was a fun ride.
I like the colors of it too.
Very, very picturesque coaster. Picturesque.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the green and the purple with the yellow trains. So
sounds like a mixtape. Green and the purple and
green and the purple with the yellow trains.
Dude, I'm starting to get really punchy.
No, I know.
This episode's getting weird.
So
it's been operating open for a long time.
Yeah, 1999. So you'll notice
longer than I would have imagined.
If you look at like when they opened their coasters, it was like 95, 98, 99, 99, 2000, 2001, and then it just stops.
Weird.
And then they get, Firebird in 2012, which...
So which one was your favorite again? You liked...
Or actually, Firebird, that was just when did they... Oh, no, they did relocate in 2012. Okay, so 2012 Firebird, and then Raging Cajun, which is just the spinning wild mouse in 2014, and then they have gotten nothing in the last 11 years.
Which one was your favorite again?
Well, we haven't talked about my favorite yet, because we got one.
To it! My goodness!
I'm working on it.
Well, I'm sorry.
You commented on the year that it opened, and so I was
now
showing
I'm asking you which one was your favorite. You're
the
saying, I'm gonna get to it.
The last one, Superman Ride of Steel.
Superman!
There really was no doubt in my mind that this was going to be the best coaster in the park. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with it.
Is this the one that you lay flat?
No, that one was closed. The one that you lay flat.
No, that's backwards. Meant forwards.
So, okay, I see what you're talking about. So the
one that I went on was you lay down your tummy.
Yes, but some of the Superman rides are Superman Ultimate Flight, which those are the ones that are flying coasters. This is the same model as Millennium Force at Cedar Point.
Okay.
Now, and I will tell you, the one that has you lay flat on your back, that one actually is a flying coaster. It's just the way Vekoma so both of them you start like this. The way B&M does it is it has you lean and then you're like forward, and that's how the Superman rides are, and then you go off like this. The Vekoma ones, it lays you on your back, and then you go up the lift hill, and then after the lift hill, then it flips you over and you go through. So they're both flying coasters. They just do it slightly differently. So
that is different.
So so this is the same model as Millennium Force. Now, not nearly as good as Millennium Force. The layout is interesting. I mean, there's
interesting.
Well, so here, let me find it. I want to find an overhead for you so you can kind of see.
It was all right.
It was a good ride. It's still gonna be in my top 50, but this is the one at Darien Lake, but it's the same layout. So you go up the lift hill here, and then you make a turn and go up and over this airtime hill, and then there's this big double helix, and then you go over this straight track straight and flat, I might add. And then airtime hill, and then big helix, and then 3 small airtime hills on the way back. So, like, half of the ride is just, like, these big banked turns.
Yeah.
And they're fun. Like, you definitely are getting that, you know, those positive G's of getting pushed into your seat. It's just kind of a one-trick pony. I don't know. Also, the thing that's funny with the Darien, you'll see the Darien Lake one, this straight section of track goes, like, over the lake here.
Yeah.
So the coaster was purposely designed for Darien Lake, which is the one we're looking at here. Mm-hmm. The one at Six Flags America is a flip. It's a mirror image of this one, but you don't go over any water on this straight section. So it's literally just, you're just going over like you're going like over a field of grass, just like
so
going straight.
Weird.
It's very strange. So it's
Fields of grain.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
hilarious.
It's
what the heck?
It's a funny ride because it's like very obvious when you're on it. You're like, this was not designed for this park, but it's still like you're still going 73 miles an hour.
It's still
and
a good
like
time.
The 3 airtime hills at the end were the highlight of the ride. Like you got some really these little airtime hills right at the end. You get some really nice pops of airtime, especially in the front where I was sitting. You got some good airtime there. And
fun.
So still, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with a 200-foot coaster. I mean, you know,
True.
Regardless of the layout, like it's still, you know, you're still going, like I said, 73 miles per hour. So it's still a fun time. So, oh, I didn't know this. Optional VR goggles in 2016. Oh boy. So, okay.
What kind of goggles?
VR goggles, like we talked about with Skyrocket a couple episodes ago. Yeah.
No. That just sounds like multiple throw-up incidents waiting to happen.
Yeah, so, anyway, just kind of closing thoughts. It was just kind of sad to see the park in disrepair.
Yeah, and I really wish they would have done something
different. The one thing, like when I was, as we're talking about Ride of Steel, when I was on the lift hill, I looked down to the left and there was like a whole section of park that had been closed off and they were like disassembling rides. So I'm like, it's July. Like the park doesn't close for another 4 months. Like, you know, they're just definitely, they're getting a head start on things. And it's just like, man, this could have been, again, like we talked about earlier, this could have been a celebration of what this park has, you know, been for the last 39 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And instead it's just kind of like, just keep the people happy as best as you can until we are done with this stuff. Like, you know, it's just, I don't know. Now, I don't know. The one thing I've thought a lot about over the past couple weeks since I went is I don't know how much of what I saw at the park was the cause or the effect. And what I mean by that is like, yes, the gift shop was in poor disrepair, but is that because the park is closing? And so they just don't care?
Yeah, you and I.
Or is the park closing because that's how it's been for a while? And I don't know.
Have you asked anybody about it?
I mean, I've talked to a couple people, and a lot of the people that are locals to the park seem to like have fond memories of the park. What I have heard is that there was a manager of the park that did a really, really great job. And like, especially in the early 2000s, you know, they were adding a bunch of rides. I mean, this opened in 2000 and they opened some other stuff in 99 and 2001.
Right.
Like the park was just really in its heyday at that point. And then at some point management changed and it just kind of fell flat after that. So, and I don't know if that's, you know, King's Dominion and Busch Gardens competition kind of contributed to that decline, but I know it still holds a lot of nostalgic and emotional value for a lot of people in that area. And so I do feel for those of you that might be listening that this is your home park. I know I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a bad park. I know that there's potential there.
How people feel about that with Silver Dollar City.
I know. I'm being very rude to people's memories.
So rude.
I think what I said to Haley when I came back is it just is sad to see that there is potential there that's just
100%.
not being realized.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, 1 or 2 major attractions and refurbishing what is there, and this could be just as good as like a Six Flags St. Louis or a Six Flags.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it'd be better than Frontier City, which is still staying open. But
yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, so that was my experience with Six Flags America
and Idlewild.
And Idlewild too. A little Idlewild thrown in there. So if you like that trip report, be sure to leave a 5-star review here. Yeah, it's for our egos. No, just kidding.
Totally.
It just helps
Especially
people find
mine.
the podcast in the future. So
I like it when people talk about nice things about me.
okay, well, there you go. If this is your first time tuning into the podcast, we usually are doing our typical episodes are talking about roller coaster history.
Mm-hmm.
So you can come back and check those out. So we've got some coming.
They're way cooler than this, I promise.
We are talking Disney World in our next episode.
Now you really gotta come and listen.
I know, and I think I'm gonna do a Six Flags America episode. The episode after that,
how
so
fun.
we'll
Okay.
pick one of these coasters and talk about the history. So
do it.
we'll somehow be our very first Six Flags episode, which is crazy. So, but yeah, and if you want to follow us on our socials, you can do that on Instagram and on Twitter/X. Our handle on both of those is @AirtimeTraveler.
Yep.
And I think that's all I have to say. So,
that's all she wrote.
Yeah, if you have the chance, be sure to go get your last visits at Six Flags America.
And hurry. So it's just keep going down.
And then,
from there.
and then let's hope that Herschend buys it and
yes,
that Herschend
please.
will restore it to its former glory.
Yes, please. Come on, Herschend.
That would be great.
That would be so cool. They did just make a major...
I was gonna say Herschend just did buy a lot of parks,
They're
so
like, we're hurting. Let's slow down.
So, but well, thanks for tuning in to this trip report, and we will see you in the next episode.